Today I'm out with the brand new Sigma 150-600 f5 to 6.3 DG DNOS Sport lens. This is the first ultra telephoto we've seen for Sigma, built specifically for full frame mirrorless cameras. This isn't just a Canon mount with a converter stuck on the back. This is specifically for L mount and E mount, and today I'm using it on a Sony a7 III. Now this is a sport lens, so as you can imagine, if you know the Sigma range at all, this is built for premium optical quality, lightweight, practical use, and to be robust and hardy for whatever you're using it for. So I've come down to an area where I know there's some birds and things, really looking forward to seeing what this can do. So inside of here, we've got 25 elements in 15 groups, and we've got like 4 FLD elements in there as well, just to help remove any chromatic aberration and things like that you'd expect to see on a lens that goes from 150 to 600. You'd expect there to be like a little bit of distortion, but actually from what I've seen so far, it's really good. Now, I do have to say this is a pre-production, so if you're looking at the images in this video, just be aware that this is a pre-production lens that I am using today, but from what I've seen on the back of the camera, it's looking nice and sharp, it's focusing really well, and actually the focusing is something I want to tell you more about. Every time I test a long lens, 100 to 400, 100 to 500, 150 to 600, I also love using them to try and almost get some like macro shots, because you can get up so close. So on the wide end of this, you can minimum focus down to 58 centimeters. And on the tele end, it's 280 centimeters, which may seem a lot, but it is a 600mm. So I think that's forgivable. So far, I've been pretty impressed with the autofocus on this. You can sort of zoom in and out very, very quickly. I was a little bit worried because obviously it is third party, but it is working really, really nicely. Had no problems with hunting. It's performing quickly and precisely. Apparently it uses an AF actuator with a step motor, along with a magnetic sensor to make sure that you get the best autofocus possible, and that it doesn't miss the subject, that it locks on to exactly where you need it to be. And I have found that even when I've been, you know, when you're sometimes focusing, you've got like, you're trying to get a nice purple plant and it's in front of a really busy background, and sometimes the lens will miss it and keep going behind it, even when you've got your tiny little crosshair on it. I'm not having that problem with this, which is really nice, because a lot of long lenses, they just can't quite manage that. I would say that I'm not being able to get tracking. So I've hooked this up with the a7 III, I've already said, and I'm not able to select tracking now on continuous, obviously. I think that's probably a problem due to this being a pre-production, unless my mind is playing tricks on me and I'm missing something, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be down to the fact that this is a pre-production and there's going to be some sort of firmware issue between these two. We often get that with pre-production type stuff, that not everything is absolutely perfectly spot on, but in terms of the actual speed of the focus, it's really good. I'm actually really impressed. It's doing really well, even in not great light. These frogs are not good friends. They are facing opposite directions, but it looks quite cool. I do like frogs. They don't move around as much, which means I can use a slower shutter speed. And that's good because this does have optical stabilization. Now, if you're shooting an animal and the animal's moving, obviously stabilization doesn't help. But if I am using a slower shutter speed, it helps me keep still up at that 600mm. And this does have up to 4 stops of optical stabilization, SEPA rated, actually up at 600mm. So I know some lenses, they say they've got like 5 or 6 stops, but it's only up to like 200mm. This is at 600mm, so I actually think that's quite impressive. And I've been testing it today, where you look through the viewfinder and you half press and you can suddenly see it go still, and actually it's been working really, really nicely. And I notice it on things like this when I'm, you know, hand holding. I'm actually on tiptoes because I'm short. And you know, you've got these little frogs here that aren't moving. It just means I can really slow things down to get the shot. It is very easy to hand hold this. It weighs 2,100 grams, so it's not super light, but for what you get in a 150 to 600, it's not bad at all, and I'm happily hand holding that all day, and I have weak little arms, so I'm sure everyone else can manage it just as well. Oh, Jesus Christ. You guys better put a like on this video because I'm having to buy new shoes for it, so I don't care if you like it or not, like it anyway. Great. It's good though because they're not waterproof.
They're not even Reeboks.
They're not even Reeboks, no. Do you know when you come here in winter sometimes it floods? I mean that, to be fair, it's pretty flooded. But like it normally comes up, like you can have it so that when you walk it comes between the boards. It's super cool.
That's scary.
It is quite scary. Man, that's normally about 10 feet deep. 10 feet below the bridge.
Oh really?
Yeah, that's really up. 150 to 600 actually gives you quite a lot of movement. So in a situation like this where I've got these beautiful trees with this much whiter foliage behind this like really yellowy green grass that's coming up from the water here, you can still actually take kind of like a landscapey shot. It's obviously not very wide, but sometimes that's a bit nicer. You can do something a little bit different. So you've still got flexibility there. It's nice to have the freedom to just sort of compress images. You know, we've got sort of, there's a bit of flood in here and then there's like a line of nettles and there's all the grass and there's cool trees in the background. And you know, I can shoot at 150, have it on like f5, so, which is the widest this will go. So I've got like, the foreground is out of focus and I've got that nice sharp background. You can just really compress the shot a little bit, which I actually quite like for kind of some landscape shooting. Obviously you need a big space to do it, but it does look pretty cool when you can sort of compress that down into one shot. And this does have a 9-bladed aperture. The bokeh's looking really smooth as well, which I'm really happy with. The out of focus areas are nice. There's none of that kind of like woven effect that you get sometimes, that cottony effect, where things have a little bit of, almost looks like movement to them. It's actually just really smooth. So I'm pretty happy with the sort of depth of focus you get from this and the look of those out of focus areas. Can you hear that? That's the great spotted buzzard.
Is it really?
No,
oh, yeah,
that isn't a thing. Now this lens can be push-pulled to zoom, or you can use the ring. It is internally focusing, so it doesn't come in and out when it focuses, so you do know the maximum size it's going to be. Now, if you do need a little bit of extra reach, if 600mm just isn't enough for you, then in the little bit of information that I've got from Sigma, in fact, I will read it word for word for you, because I think this is important. So they have said, it can be used with Sigma's 1.4 times and 2 times L mount teleconverters with effective AF up to 1200mm. Now, the way that's worded, I'm not sure if that means Sigma 1.4 times teleconverters for L mount and E mount, with only the 2 times being okay in L mount. I don't know if that document is maybe just made for the L mount lens and actually applies to both. So at the moment, we pretty much know that you can use the 1.4 times and the 2 times with the L mount version. I'm not sure about this yet, but hopefully by the time you see this video, we will have that information and we'll pop it in the comments or the description for you so that you can see. And I think actually it's worthwhile noting that because this is an f5 to 6.3, a teleconverter on a decent day that's not quite this cloudy would actually be all right, especially if you're going like safari or something, you know. It does give you that bit of extra reach. Do you lose some speed? Yes. Obviously the same as any time you use a teleconverter, and no, this isn't a 70 to 200 2.8, but if it was me, I think I'd have one in the bag so that sometimes you see something so amazing that you just want the shot, right? It doesn't matter if it's the best shot in the world, you just want to capture it. So I think it's worthwhile knowing that this works with a teleconverter. Sometimes you'll be able to get amazing shots using that. Sometimes they might be mediocre, but at least you can get it. Build quality of this is what you'd expect from a sport lens. Now, if you don't know Sigma's lineup, they do sport, art and contemporary. Art, you kind of see really, really high-end lenses, but in the kind of portraiture and wide-angle type field. Contemporary, there's a range of lenses in there, and they're optically fantastic, but they're normally not quite as great build quality. They're a bit lighter and a bit less expensive. The sport lineup is where we find these kind of like ultra telephoto zooms, that type of thing. And they're really robust. They're made to be used, they're workhorses, and of course, optically fantastic. Now, this lens is in that sport lineup, so the build quality is as you would expect. It feels nice and secure. It hasn't marked up at all as I've been using it, you know, and we have sort of been walking through brush and stuff like that. It's just started to rain, just so you know, as always in our reviews recently. This is made of an aluminium and polycarbonate body, a THC, which is like a polycarbonate. Now, these two materials are made so that they consistently deal with temperature. So if you are using this across safari lands or you're going to Iceland, it doesn't matter, this lens will respond consistently, and that's the type of thing that you look for in sport lenses. That's what they offer, that consistency of use. Now, I've noticed that with the autofocus, the optical stabilization, all of those have been working really, really super well. The actual body itself has a lot of controls going on. So I'll give you a quick little rundown. We've got a couple of AFL buttons which you can set to be custom features. We've got an AF to MF. We've got a full focus limiter, 10 meters and above 10 meters. So you can set that as well. You can control your OS. So you've got off or 1 or 2. And you can also do your custom settings from there. So you can have your custom settings off or C1 or C2. So there's quite a lot on the lens. The front filter is massive, and I think I read it's a 95. I mean, the only thing you're going to put on this really is a UV just to keep it safe. So it shouldn't cost you too much money. You'll just want to stick one of those on there just to keep that front element nice. But the front element is coated anyway with a like water and oil resistant coating just to help you like keep the dirt off it, and when it starts to rain, you're okay. This is dust and moisture resistant, so no problem shooting in the rain. Just obviously make sure you've got a camera that's okay for it, unlike my A7 III, which I keep covering up. And also it does have this tripod collar as well. This is an Arca Swiss type fitting on here. You've got a tripod mounted there if you want to use that. It's not too small. I don't know about you guys, but I carry the big lenses like this. I find it comfortable when I'm walking along. It doesn't hurt your shoulder and your neck when you're carrying your big bags. Easy way to carry your lenses. And with some of the plates recently, I've noticed they're really little. They're like half size, and it makes it quite hard to hold, and you have to hold the body of the camera, which I don't like doing, or you have to strap up the lens instead, which is annoying. So quite like the design of this too. One other thing I did mention earlier, but I just want to point out again, the design of the lens here, this little ridge that you've got, it is really nice for the push-pull stuff. Really, really nice. Now you can lock that push-pull, as I said, so that you don't get any lens creep. There is also a T setting, which means tight, so it's not as easy to move it. So if you're doing really, really little adjustments, you can do that with the ring or with push-pull, and you can set that on the side just there. But that ridge, really nice for holding the lens, gives you a nice positioning. Not good for manual focusing. If you're holding it like that, your manual focus is all the way back here. So you're going to want to put your hand under here and be using your thumb to manual focus. It is quite a big throw, but you'd expect it for this sort of lens. Now, if you want to find out more about this lens, because at the moment, as I've said, pre-production only, we don't have too much information. If you need to find out more, you can of course pop onto our website. There is a ton of info on there. And if you've liked this, you can place a pre-order. Now we're going to put a link in the description for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click somewhere up here where George will magically drop in a link for you guys. If you want to ask us any questions, of course you can. Make sure to put a comment in the comments, and we will get back to you as soon as we can with any information that we have on this lens. Now, we do stuff like this all the time. Things are opening up a little bit more now. We've got some really, really exciting stuff planned actually. So make sure to join us for it by subscribing to the channel and click that little bell to turn on notifications so you know when we've got content coming out and you don't miss anything exciting. Also, if you like the video, then press like, because that would be nice. But if you haven't liked it, then don't do that. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you found the video useful, and I hope you join us again soon for some more content from Wex Photo Video.